Welcome to our coaching chat. We are kind of starting part one of a two-part series. And before we get started, what I just wanted to take a minute just to kind of touch base with everyone and say, what we're going to jump in today is a topic that we've had. I went and looked. We walked through this process 6 years ago, believe it or not. And I feel like it's an area that needs revisited in light of the fact that we have, since we did this Talk Like a Pro series 6 years ago, we didn't have, I don't even think we had the Omegas. We didn't have Luminate, we didn't have Perform, and we obviously didn't have our superfood. And so I kind of feel like we need to kind of revisit this verbiage of how do we talk like a pro about our Juice Plus products. And so I really want to hear from each and every one of you. So everyone's going to be on the hot seat. So nobody leave now. We see you all's on here. But let's go ahead but before we get started, if you guys remember last week, it was all about really kind of getting back to connecting with our customers, connecting with our prospects, connecting with our partners. I want to hear, before we jump into today's conversation, I want to hear how last week went for whoever wants to start us off. Who's willing to say, I'll be in the hot seat. I'll tell you how last week went with here's my little checklist. Who wants to jump in and kick us off? Karen, thank you.
Yes, I was going to get called on anyway. Might as well volunteer.
You know it.
Huh. So I contacted 20 out of the 25. I didn't get all 25 done, but out of that, I got a Luminate order and two of the superfoods. But they were the one box versions. They didn't want to commit to a subscription and they wanted to taste it because they were out of town and I couldn't get them a sample. So that's okay. They'll come back and they'll love
Let
it.
me
And then
stop you. Who were the people? Were they new? Were they customers that came back in? Tell me the people who you just got two orders from.
okay, one was a customer that was old that came back in.
Okay.
And she's the one that just wanted to start with a box. And
Okay.
then the Luminate order was an existing customer, and the other superfoods was somebody changing over. And then I also
Okay.
shared a cart for two Healthy Starts superfoods to a gal in London. So she hasn't fulfilled her cart yet. So
Nice. Wow. Okay. So you had some really good results then so basically what'd you get? 4 orders?
yeah, well, the two were in one order. Three, four, five, five.
Wow. That was a great week.
It was a good week.
Congratulations. Yeah. Who else want to share? Here's how many people of the 25 I connected with, and here are the results. Anybody else? That's hard to top right there, but go ahead. Anybody, or just share, go ahead and share if anybody's willing what your 25 connection week looked like. Who else?
Well, I had 18 connections that I intended to make to begin with, and I connected with 15 of them.
All right.
And uh, I, I, two of them of the three that I really had a conversation with, two of them hadn't tried it yet, and one of them loved it, but they had to wait till next month to order. But I was on the phone with a completely new person that never heard of Juice Plus. I'm trying to switch over some things financially, and they're a young family, and she ordered two Healthy Starts quads, one superfood and one capsule, just because she said she's in business, and she said we have a budget, and she's looking at this. She goes, I didn't even know anything like this existed, and they were like I said, they're young kids, young couple with 3 kids. And so she was ecstatic. And I was like, oh, this hasn't happened in so long.
So you got 3 new orders then. That's awesome. All right, man, we're doing good. Who else? Who else wants to share how their week went in regard to connections and then how that turned into customers? Come on, I know somebody's got some good news. Sandy, I know you're always on top of your list. Just tell us how your week went.
Um, I don't know numbers, but I just know that I worked really, really hard, putting cards together and connecting an email, connecting in person. My hairdresser, uh, I've sent 3 different cards. She and her husband were going to order. Now it's just she and her daughter. She hasn't ordered yet, but I'm expecting. The second one is a former partner and customer from church. I took him a sample and he said, I like the taste, but there was something that was a little wonky in it. And I said, well, that's not unusual. Sometimes it could be the botanical thing, which is just more plants, you know. And he said, but I do think I could get used to it. So then yesterday at church, he talked to me and he says, Sandy, do you have any more protein bars? I said, well, we did, but they're gone now. But I said, I have a stash and I'll be happy to share with you. And so anyway, I think he's going to be a yes on the superfood. Our tax man, he was here dropping off our results when it first came out. And I gave him a sample. He was going to play golf, and I gave him a sample. I said, this will help you out here on your golf game. And so anyway, then I sent him an email and I said, Al, you know from the business that I've been in the juice business. He calls it the juice business. And I said, I've been in the juice business, but I've never really talked to you about it. And I said, I'm sending you a cart, and explained what it was. And I said, if you and Connie would like to join or like to try, here it is. And I said, if you know of anyone else, any family or friends that are interested in adding more good to their diets, please share this. He texted or he emailed me back and he said, it was delicious, Sandy. He said, I'm going to talk to Connie, and he said, I'm going to send it on to some people that I think might be interested. So there's that. I had 2 people who just said, I do not like it. I dropped it off at their business and both of them tried. One is a customer. She says, I still like my shakes. She said, I just put the capsules in my shakes. And she said, I'm good to go. So I said, thank you for trying. And you know, you're a capsule girl and that's fine. Still waiting on another couple. He has lots of health issues. They were on the health study, they got off. He's still not doing any good, and he needs the energy. So he couldn't swallow capsules either, which was, I thought, I gave them a sample of it, and I thought it would be the answer to his questions. So anyway, that's where I am. Still waiting, but hopeful.
Very good. Very good. You made some great connections. Anybody else want to share? Here's how many people I connected with, or here was my goal, 25. Hopefully it was 20, 25. And here's how many people I connected with. Anybody else? Nobody else did anything? I don't believe that.
I did a little bit.
Yeah. What were your numbers, Lucian?
Well, I recently started back into the gym,
Okay.
and there's a personal trainer there that I've been talking with, and I gave him some samples of the superfoods and the Luminate. He liked them, but he admitted that he is basically a meat eater, and I'm not going to convince him. I'm not going to convince him otherwise.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I also met at the gym a lady that she's a tutor and she does online tutoring. And she lives in Spain most of the years, but she goes back and forth between here and Spain. That's a potential looking good right now. And then about a month ago, I had a person that got on a product, and he's already referring me to some of his customers. He's out on the streets knocking on doors, trying to get internet to businesses. And so he's meeting a lot of business people out there. So he's already sent me a couple of referrals that way too.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Lucian.
And
Here-
and
Go ahead.
and then maybe Jelaine can share something about somebody she just contacted, I think it was today, that she hasn't spoken with in maybe a couple years.
All right. You're on mute, Jelaine. There you go.
So I have a lady that I've been working with. I spoke at an Aptatious event. It's Aptatious Women. We're all Aptatious. We have goals and whatever. So and I reached out to her, and she is looking forward to doing a meeting with me, a Zoom meeting, so that we can talk more. She says, I definitely need help and I want to talk with you more. So it's been a 2-year venture, but hopefully this will be the one time that we talk. And then the other one is my doctor, who you all are aware of, has been watching for some time. She's the one that was impressed with Illuminate. I brought her superfood only to get more test results back that are super. She's a doctor who's seen the numbers that there's no explanation because there's no medication. So hopefully she's gonna, start to just jump on board, because I don't see how she's told me the numbers, she can't deny the numbers, but she still hasn't. She made an attempt, I think, to get the Luminate back when, but it was out of stock, and I think she's kind of right there on the cusp, and I'm hoping her and her husband are both doctors. So I'm hoping to have them both. But this last announcement that I got, I'll share with everyone, was that, as a lot of you know my story, I had severe osteoporosis in my spine and in my hips, and it was so bad that my bra strap cracked my spine and gave me a compression fracture. So with that being said, so I just had a birthday. Everybody knows I'm aging older in years, but with this last test results that I just got from my bone density test in my spine, I do not have osteoporosis. I do not have osteopenia. I have a normal spine. That does not happen. And in my hips, which were the potential for me to sit in a chair at any moment and crack both of them, that's how severe it was. I only have osteopenia. So I told her next year, be ready, because when I come back, my hips are going to be nothing. So she was like, so she's got the superfood. She's trying the superfood. So we're just hoping for that to work out. So I have that one woman that I'm going to get with this week. And then I have the doctor who I undeniably can't see how she can just, deny anymore. She's got to come around. I mean, the numbers don't lie, right? I mean, it's a display, like a firework display, that's just awesome. She can't deny it, the results,
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you, Jelaine, for sharing. And as you were talking, here's what came to my mind is that, and I will be the first to confess. I grew up Baptist, so we were taught to confess. So I will confess that I've gotten away from literally doing what we did this week, and that is writing names down, saying my goal is 25, and here's how many people I connected with, and here are the results. Is anybody else, Karen, I know you're the exception here, but and maybe Sandy too, but who will confess? I'm raising my hand in confession. I've gotten away from that process, and that, you guys, is how we move our businesses forward. And so, am I the only one? And Brenda, anybody else have gotten away from that? Jelaine, raise your hand. Susan,
Lucian?
Miracle, Lucian. So if we want to move the dial, we have to, if you wanted to call it a goal or whatever you want to call it. My husband used to laugh. He would say, we are not going to use the word budget because that's negative. he goes, we're going to call it our spending plan. So whatever you have to call your plan to make you want to do it. But we have got to get back to the basics of writing down, making a plan for the week, and then literally holding ourselves accountable. And I've created forms like this. So I'm going to post the form on Voxer. I'm going to post the form on our Team Extreme Facebook page, and maybe we'll send it out to our coaching chat list of people. Let's print that form out and let's really make a plan again today and work our plan, and then come back here and literally maybe we just start out by saying, you know, if our goal is always 25 from 5 and all those connections, and we just say, you know, 13 out of 25 last week, so that we are holding ourselves accountable, because really that's how we're going to do it. That's how we're going to move the dial. And, you know, I think we've been through a lot. We've been kind of beaten down since September, and maybe even since COVID, but we've got to pull ourselves out of it. I'm speaking for myself. Pull myself out of it and really get back into the basics of what we know, how we move our businesses along, and really, it's by that consistency of connecting with people. And so, I guess I'm making a, what's the word? Promise to myself in front of y'all that I'm going to get back to that rhythm, and knowing that, you know, I can easily say, well, I'm in a really busy season in my life right now. And I probably am in the busiest season I've ever been, but I know to keep moving forward, it's continuing with those basic skills that we all know. And one of them is truly, you know, making a plan and following that plan for the week. So let's all commit to that, or my encouragement to you. Sandy, were you going to say something?
Yes, I would like to say something. I can honestly say that I think the superfood has given me the excitement again to reach out to people, because I have felt like you, Elaine, and probably all of us on this call, that I was beaten down and I really wasn't needed in the new IT system. And people handled their own stuff, and here I am just kind of, well, what I thrive when I have events, and when I talk to people, and when I start up the conversations. Stacia and I had a superfood event last week. We've got another one Thursday, and I think we have another one Monday night. And I told her, I said, I don't care if we have anybody there or not, let's do it. Let's get it out there, and then we can say, for all the people who missed it back by popular demand, we're going to do it again, and just keep shaking those bushes till we get people to to come and see. But the emails, the texts, the seeing people at the gym, connecting with all of those people that I know, it really, the superfood, I give that credit for spurring me. It's kind of like a new, you turn the page, it's a clean page, and it's like starting fresh again all over the way we used to do things, talking to people. Let's get
And
back to that.
I agree with you, Sandy. Great point, that it gives us a reason to go back to all those people who have shown interest or maybe gotten off Juice Plus. But we have to do that tracking process. That to me literally helps me feel like, okay, all right, what action breeds more action. And so I think having a list, let's get back to that. And let's move forward. And I did pick up a couple new customers this week because of that. And so let's all, and it was such a good reminder that I have to take time to plan and then execute that plan. And so we're going to I'll send out a tracker form for us all. and let's get back to the basics. Okay, so part of getting back to the basics, number one is planning and then executing our plan, number one. But the other thing too is what I want to share with you today is I went back into the archives and said, okay, one of my absolute favorite trainings that we did, and I looked and I couldn't believe, here we go, that it's been 6 years since we did this training. And I feel like, number one is the activities and tracking our activities, I think is going to help us move our businesses forward. But I think the next step is making sure we know what to say. And it sounds like some of you guys have really made some good connections. So I'm going to ask you questions. So I want to hear from what you guys are saying. When talking, going back and having these conversations with people. So let me start, and I can only see a few of you now because I've got my screen up. So maybe Brenda, you can tell me who's raising their hand or who wants to share. But let me ask this question. For those of you who've seen some success this week and brought on some new customers, how did you describe Juice Plus in a sentence to them? Just kind of to open up those lines of conversation, what was said? And let's kind of do popcorn since we spent a good while kind of chatting up front. What did some of you say? I see Jelaine talking. I don't know if you're talking to someone else. Okay. Who? Anybody? Brenda, you always have good verbiage. Let's hear.
Well, I always say, have you ever heard of Juice Plus? Juice Plus is fruits, vegetables, berries, and grapes, the highest quality. Everything is vine ripened in capsules for adults and chewables for kids. And it's a way to bridge the gap between what we should be eating every day and what we actually are, backed by solid science. I said, and I love the line that Karen said. I get to work for the company that saved my life.
Mm.
But even if I don't say it at the end, as soon like it with that new woman that I just talked to, she's like, wait, what did you say? It's in capsules? I mean, I think that's still such a big deal. And then being able to talk to that now we can take the capsules, we can have it in a drink, or we can eat it with the chewables. I mean, you don't get more variety than that.
No, covers the bases. I love that. Anybody, let me say, just put up your fingers on a scale of 1 to 10, when it comes to just a quick 30-second commercial, when sharing about our Juice Plus products, how many people on a scale 1 to 10, show by hands, I am rock solid with that first introduction of describing Juice Plus. 10 is like, it rolls off my tongue. I don't even think about it. Or I'm at a 7, or I'm at a 5. Let me see hands. Let me see how many. Where are you guys?
Okay,
See,
Susan's a 5. Jelaine is a 7. Wendy is I can't see your hand, sweetie. Put them up above your head. 6. There you go. You're real tiny. Yeah. Let's see.
Lucian's at a 5. I see him.
Sandy's at a 10. Karen's at a 10. I think that's everybody that's.
All right. Here's what I want. Many years ago, 6 years ago, because I looked at when we originally did this training, I listened to there's a lady by the name of Amy Porterfield, and she did this whole talk. She literally makes, I want to say, like 10 million a year in marketing. She's a marketer. And she did this whole talk on how to talk like a pro. Didn't matter the product. And so I listened to her training. It was fabulous. I took her training, converted it into Juice Plus Talk, and that's where this training came from. And what she said, she had 7 secrets when it came to really knowing how to talk about your product. And so the first secret, which is why I asked you guys to kind of think about what rolls off your tongue and how quickly does it roll off your tongue. Number one, she said, solidify your verbal tagline. So if you think about it, what's the tagline? Brenda just gave her tagline. 30 raw fruits and vegetables and berries picked at the peak of ripeness, juiced at low temperatures as not to harm the nutrients. Then they removed the salt, the water, and sugar, leaving the micronutrients. The plant powders are then put in capsule or gummy form and now in powder form. And it bridges the gap between what we should be eating and what we're actually eating. We want to get to the point that a tagline, whatever you feel comfortable with, if you want to take this and update it, add to it, emphasize that it's in capsule, gummy, and powder form. We want to be able to let that come out of our mouth really quickly and just effortlessly. And so part of your homework, and I'm gonna do this myself, and I'm gonna show everybody where you can, I'll actually put these on Team Extreme, Facebook, and Voxer, so that you can take this verbiage and change it however you want. But let's literally print these things out and work on them this week. Let's work on ourselves becoming a pro at tracking and implementing our plan, making a plan, implementing it, and as well as really knowing what we want to say when we're talking to people. And now, you know, what is not even incorporated in there is our other products as well. And so maybe adding something to that effect if we want to. So let's work this week on that, getting it literally to a 10. So as we're having these conversations, we're not shying away from them, because people pick up on our confidence. If we're kind of hem-hawing around a bit and we're not real confident in how we're presenting Juice Plus, they're not going to have confidence in buying it. You know, and so, yeah, I'm thinking about, even especially with these new powders, I'm really working on 3 of the trainers at my gym, and we've got an event coming up. And so part of that event, even though my trainer's dragging his feet of jumping on board and becoming a partner, I'm going to say, hey, if you're not going to actually become a partner, I want to represent Juice Plus at your big event. And I don't think he's going to be able to tell me no. I'm one of his, I do business with him. So, you know, I want to make sure that I really have that down before that event on May 3rd. All this verbal tagline, so which they really come in handy when we're doing events like that you can spit that out like that, because time is of the essence. You don't have much time with people when you're doing events like this. All right, now the second question I want to ask you is, how do you explain what Juice Plus is in further detail? So first you want to have that tagline that rolls off your tongue, and it gives people a quick visual, mental visual from what you verbally are sharing of what Juice Plus is. So how do you go into, if you think about it, almost like you're peeling the layer of the onion, how do you go a little bit deeper? Anybody want to share how they go a little bit deeper?
Elaine, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Okay, prior to that, number one, when you have your short tagline, I know that we've always been taught to ask questions. So I'm not going to go up to somebody and just give my tagline. I feel like I need to ask them a question first, then that earns me the right to give my tagline. What is a simple, great, just opening questions? I always am trying to figure out how to get in a conversation with people. Like, do you have any kind of nutritional support? What are you
I
doing?
like that.
Do y'all have any kind of, I can go right into that tagline?
That's a really good point, Susan, and I agree 100%. And I think the question has to totally vary depending on your situation. So I think this could be, and I'll go look, because we have done a whole training on this, Susan. And I'll go pull those introductory questions. And maybe we move into, many years ago, we did a training, what was called a quadrant training. And the first quadrant was, how do you get into a conversation with people? So maybe we'll move into that next week, because I think your point here is truly something that we do need to focus on. But for today, let me hear, okay, what was your you said, that question you just mentioned, what was it again, Susan?
Well, before I give a tagline, just to even start a conversation, I feel like, I have said before, can I ask you a quick question? What do you do? Do you do any kind of nutritional support?
Okay, there it is.
I don't want to really say supplements, because then if I start talking about Juice Plus, we don't really call it a supplement.
Right.
So I just feel like there's got to be one quick question, and then people will say, yeah, I do a vitamin or this or that. And then I feel like I could go into the tagline.
Yes. So how do you get 9 to 14 raw fruits and vegetables in your body every day? How do you get those micronutrients? These nutritional, and I've actually been thinking about this too, because my gym, I think my trainers, there's 3 of them, and we're in a gym together, and it's all about right now, it's all about macros, and it's all about, the electrolytes. Everybody's doing the little powders for the electrolytes. And so my thought process as I was driving home from the gym today is, yeah, macronutrients are important, and your electrolytes are important, but what prevents disease? So your macros are gonna alter the way you look externally, and the electrolytes are going to impact kind of how you feel in the moment. But what are you doing from a micronutrient standpoint? It's your micronutrients that prevent disease, period. Macros really don't do that. That's more about, your carbs, your fats, and your protein, which are important, but nobody's talking about the micronutrients. So maybe getting back to making that statement, I'm sitting here thinking what I'm going to say to get my trainer talking is, we're doing a lot of conversations about macronutrients and about electrolytes. But as you know, and people do know this, but they don't think about it because nobody talks about it. Micronutrients are what protects us from disease. Nobody is getting 9 to 14 raw fruits and vegetables in their body every day. Nobody's doing that. I'm focused on that. That is the area that I spend my time in. And I don't even do that. I try, but I miss it. And I've got to do a green drink or my smoothie with fruits and vegetables in it to get it all in. So I think maybe that's a question is, we're all focused on macronutrients and getting our electrolytes, but how do you get those micronutrients from the fruits, vegetables, and berries?
And I think everyone's aware that the quality of our produce has deteriorated so much. I have a lot of those conversations when I'm in the organic section, paying 3 times or 4 times what everybody else is, because it's that important. And I've had, several conversations. People are aware of that it's really hard to get good quality produce in your system.
So we can talk about the micronutrients. We can also talk about depletion of nutrients.
And just the quality of our produce.
Quality, yes. Quality of our produce. Okay, what other questions for talking points to get started? So we've got 2.
I think even like you said, even really expounding on what macros really are and what they do. I mean, it's all external, like you said, and I've never thought about it that way. That's really powerful, because that is a big buzzword right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who else? What are you saying to get the conversation going? So we're backing up a pre-question that we don't even have in here yet. What's the pre-question you ask? I remember one time I was on a treadmill and the person right next to me couldn't even run. They were hacking and coughing and carrying on. And literally I looked at him, and I had just heard this on Boxer. I just looked at him. I said, has your doctor recommended anything to help you with that cough? What's he saying? And the person stopped and looked at me, and he started laughing, and then he started coughing because he was laughing. And I said, your doctor needs to recommend some Juice Plus to you for sure. And I did. I ended up getting a customer out of that by just saying, has your doctor recommended Juice Plus to help you with that cough? So there's another line. What's your, okay, I see Lucian.
Yeah, so I do what I like to call is effective listening.
Okay.
Whenever you're having conversations with people, I try to pick up on what they're saying. So I just got a really good customer about a month or so ago because he was telling me about how tired he was. And, in middle of the afternoon, he's supposed to be working. He wants to take a nap. Or like Jelaine, she likes to listen to moms complain about their kids being picky eaters. And a lot of times people will give you the little cues in the conversation. And that's kind of like opening the door for you to go in and explain what you have and how you can help them solve their problem.
Those are great illustrations, so Lucian, that's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Follow the cues.
I was just
Karen.
going to add to that. I was going to say that basically the same thing, Lucian, is that you've got to read the conversation. I mean, you can't just go up with a tagline or even a question. It has to flow naturally into the conversation. So if they're talking about their health or someone else's health, then I'll just say, hey, I wasn't eavesdropping, but you
Yeah,
might want to look at what I'm taking, something, along the line where you can just drizzle into it and not be so salesy.
yeah, you have to be listening.
Great point.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that is the absolute best way, is to drop the questions in to the current conversation, whatever it is. But if there's no conversation going and you want to get a conversation going, what are some, so obviously follow the cues of the conversation. What's some other conversation starters to get people moving in the direction? He who asks the questions guides the conversation. So we want to get people into a health conversation. How do we do that? Other thoughts or ideas?
I got a great question for that one.
Good, let's hear it.
You want to live long and die short, or live short and die long?
Whoa, I like that. But you probably wouldn't just walk up to someone and say that.
It depends.
It depends on the situation, if you're in like a health kind of booth type event, I think that's a great question. But let's just say the average converse, or, how do you get into that conversation? Maybe even too, as we're thinking about, us making our list. So let's think about our list of people who've dropped off Juice Plus and people who maybe have shown interest but never got going with Juice Plus. How do we open that door conversation with them this week?
I was having my monthly massage last week, and it's the same guy, and he also does Bradley's massage. And I figured, well, gosh, he gets my business. And I had
Absolutely.
a massage. So he had actually rescheduled me because he had been sick. So I thought, well, this is my opening. So I did leave the house with a super packet, superfood packet. But I just said, so Herman, I said, I'm so sorry you weren't feeling well. I said, tell me what you're doing for your nutritional support. And
I love that.
that was my opening question. And then I figured I got 90 minutes. and so he did tell me, he takes a B12. He's a few years younger than me. He takes a B12. He does, you know, a multivitamin for men. And then that's, you know, I listened to him. And then that's when I kind of started saying, well, have you ever heard about Juice Plus? So I kind of had a long time to do my, you know, talk with him. And then afterwards I gave him the super powder. And then I walked out and he said, do you have a website? So I went to my landing page, copied that and sent that to him. So I'm going to follow up in a few days, but that was kind of easy because I had a captive audience. He wasn't going anywhere. And I had
But-
9, but I did get into, you know, he had been sick and rescheduled and said, you know, tell me what you're doing to help nutritionally.
I love it. I love that. Great question. Who else has an illustration of, you know, and I'm thinking of some of the people who, I'm thinking of one guy right now who's on my list who I didn't get to last week, of just reaching out to him and just saying, hey, I know you've taken a look at Juice Plus, you've never pulled the trigger and done it, but I just wanted to share with you, you know, we've just got Juice Plus now in a brand new form, and I thought it may make it simpler for you, easier for you. You know, we have it in the capsule form, the gummy form, and now we have it in this delicious powder form to make a drink. So I think that even if it's not what necessarily they are looking for, it gives you a question to ask. Back to, I always rely on this, hey, I was thinking about you and wanted to make sure you knew about this. Because it may be of interest and it may be exactly what you need to jump back on board or to really try Juice Plus for the first time.
Or,
Who
and
else?
I think true. And also, you know, recently I've connected with several people that I used to teach with. And one of the things before they said anything about their health, but I just said, so how's your health? How are you feeling?
Mhm.
And nobody says they feel great. I promise you. And so then they're just like, I know I talked to you about Juice Plus years ago, or you knew what I was doing. And she goes, are you still doing that? And I said, oh my gosh, I've never missed a day. And well, just the other day, you know, somebody said to me, how, you know, I was at this office and she needed my information and she asked me how old I was. And she was like, oh, and she goes, and you feel good every day, you know, and it's that kind of thing. Because people don't expect other people to be healthy. I mean, I just think kind of go in there, you know, just, you know, well, how are you doing now? Because
Yeah. Simply asking people how they're doing. That's true. I mean, and we ask that every day, but we don't really expect a true answer. And maybe it's asking that and just say, no, really, how are you doing?
that's what they'll say. Oh, really? You really want to know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah.
And taking the time to wait and listen. Good point.
And
Anybody else?
being able to say to somebody, I feel great every day, because you don't hear that.
We are laughing. My husband used to, I remember, I think I've told this story before. I jumped in the car when we were dating at college and he would always be, he was really trying to, he is really into, his major was psychology. And I just remember him, this one, what was the guy's name? He was a psychologist. Anyway, he was just talking about, you know, kind of setting the pace of how you mentally feel. Like if you say to your body or to yourself, whatever you tell it, it believes it and it acts it out. It doesn't know if you're telling it truth or not. Well, I just remember I'd jump in the car and I always loved it. He'd always hit the back of the seat and go, I feel good, I feel great. How do you feel? And you know what? It always literally got me it just made me laugh. And it would almost set the tone of the day. And I had forgotten about that until I was talking to Brenda earlier and she made that comment that I just remembered him doing that. And it truly is, what if someone said, how are you doing? If we responded, I feel good, I feel great. I know they would be like, wow, what brought that on? You know, because nobody answers like that. And that alone probably would open up a door of conversation. So I think that's just simply having this conversation is helpful when we dive into our week of how we're going to be talking to people. And
think
go
being
ahead.
genuinely interested in other people, that's the key.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, anybody else on that topic? Susan, I will get that list because I know we've done a training on this, but I think at least this gives us some about 4 or 5 ways to begin talking to people. Anybody else before we move on? All right, so the next question I want to ask is, how do you explain what Juice Plus is in further detail? So when it comes to that first answer, if we do it in a way that's going to pique somebody's interest, then we're going to have an opportunity to explain it in a little further detail. So I think, yes, Karen.
Oh, I was going to answer the question. I'll let you finish though.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, in my tagline, I say it's 30 whole fruits, vegetables, and berries, and then, on and on. And then I say afterwards, when they say something, I say, when I say whole, I mean the whole fruit, the peels, the pits, the seeds, the things that we don't normally eat where all the nutrients are. So it's like a superfood. And then it piques their curiosity. I said, and it still has the same great research when I'm talking about superfoods as before, and same health benefits. And it goes directly to your bloodstream to help heal and protect those cells.
Oh, I love that. She's got the tagline down and the deeper detail. And she said 2 or 3 things in there that I think if I didn't know about Juice Plus, I would be kind of like, tell me more about that, about the seeds and so I think it's back to your point, which I think yes, it says this in tell what it is. So first we're going to do a tagline to kind of capture people's attention. And then back to exactly what Karen's talking about. She went in a little deeper and told what it is, that it carries a nutritional label. That is something that to me, sets us apart from anything else. I don't know that I've really seen any other supplement out there that carries a nutritional label. Has anybody else seen that? I think that is unique to Juice Plus. Back to Karen's point, Juice Plus, it's the whole fruit, vegetable, berry, including the seed, the skin, and the pulp. Karen learned this 6 years ago and she has implemented it. She knew exactly what to say. It's bioavailable, taking time to say, when it comes to most supplements, at best, we absorb 10 to 15%. But Juice Plus is bioavailable. We absorb it 100% because it is whole food and our body knows exactly what to do. And then I love this line, goes beyond organic in that it carries the highest certification of purity, which is the NSF label required by professional athletes. It's beyond organic. Organic romaine still can have, what was that big breakout a couple years ago? What was it had in it? Shoot, I can't think of it. Does anyone...
Even the organic label allows 15 to 30% of impurities.
Well, in bacteria, what is that? What is that?
E. coli.
E. coli, yes. Had that big breakout of organic romaine and had E. coli in it. Well, we definitely want beyond organic if organic can have E. coli in it. So it goes beyond organic with that NSF label. They're in a higher label you can get. This is what professional athletes and Olympians need on anything they take. So have that ready for that next layer. Anybody else add anything to this that what I may want to do is go back and kind of start updating this. Anybody else have anything to add? Susan, were you going to add something?
I think that's always a good time to have a favorite boards video to share. And I like it's almost a 4-minute one. And I think people who don't have a clue about it, they like to see that video where it shows the facilities and it,
Yes.
a little short one that has, it does mention the health study at the end, but I don't know. I think at that point, and then whenever I send that, I tell people, this is a 4-minute video. Because if you don't tell them, they might thinking I don't have time. It's going to be a long one.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So tell what it is. We kind of give them a precursor and then have a backup of here's, and Susan, can you put that in like Voxer and or our Team Extreme Facebook so that people have what you use? Would you do that? All right. Anybody else? Karen?
Susan touched on it at the end of her explanation there, that the health study, and to say, and the best news is that the child's free with an adult participating. And what's better than free?
And let me see what time. We got 10 more minutes, so we're going to go into that. So first we get our tagline, rolls off our tongue, then 4 or 5 key points of what it truly is. And then the next one is, how do you differentiate Juice Plus with other products? Anybody? So Karen, you're one more ahead of me. What makes Juice Plus unique? And that's when nobody else out there, nobody gives away free product like Juice Plus, but that comes next. So right now is, how do we differentiate with other products? Anybody want to throw some things out?
The
NSF certification, exactly. And I had someone who literally said, oh my gosh, I saw that it has NSF certification. She's in the food industry. She works with Chick-fil-A. And she said, even our equipment has to be NSF certified. And when she said that, she knew the value of NSF certification. And I love that. Anybody else? What else do you like to throw out to help differentiate Juice Plus with other products?
Research.
Research, exactly. Exactly. So here's what we had. Juice Plus is not a synthetic isolated vitamin or mineral supplement. I think going back to that nutritional label, I don't know of another product that has a nutritional label on it, and consequently why it's 100% bioavailable. Vitamins are fractured nutrition. And I think that's where people think, if I'm taking a vitamin supplement, I'm good. But helping them understand it's fractured nutrition, and you're only getting maybe 10, 15% max of the nutritional value from that. That's why they're not the answer. If what you're putting in your body is not 100% whole food, your body considers it a toxin and tries hard to get rid of it. I've heard it said that we've only discovered 20 to 30 vitamins and around 100 minerals. So we're not even getting 1%. And yet there are over 14,000 phytonutrients in an apple alone. So if we're relying on isolated supplements, we're getting less than 1% of what we really need. So I think helping them, I think probably that first hurdle is helping them understand the difference between whole food and any kind of supplement. That a supplement is going to be fractured nutrition. And I kind of go back and think about your point, Brenda, when you started on Juice Plus, you were taking a bag full of supplements and it was doing absolutely nothing for your health.
50 supplements a day, 13 prescriptions.
And still it took a whole food concentrate to alter that's where we have to go back. I think a lot of times, and I think this is true for, I would say for ourselves, but especially for our customers and our prospects, we forget, kind of back to your point, how little isolated vitamins and supplements move the dial on our health. And
I that's even the word synthetic, I say man-made, because I don't think people still think there's some kind of wonderful process when it's synthetic, because they don't really understand it. But when you say it's not man-made, it's a real organic food. I think that's powerful too.
So I think maybe that telling what it isn't, I think that key is this: we have food. This is not like the other, all the stuff we see with great marketing, but you know, I go back to that video that John Blair did on what makes Juice Plus. I forget the title of that. I'll have to go pull that out. It was so good, but he was talking about balance of nature. And he just said that we looked into balance of nature, and it has no value whatsoever by taking it. None. That the particles are too big for your body to absorb it. Think about that. And yet, because it's marketed and in our face constantly, somehow we begin to question how powerful is Juice Plus. And we got to be bulletproof when it comes to our talking points and sharing Juice Plus and what it is, what it isn't. How much time do we have? All right, we're going to stop here. I'm going to stop us where our time is up, and we're going to kind of come back and go back over these, kind of finish this series out. What did we do? We were about halfway through our talking points, but I'm going to post those, and let's get really good at absorbing that this week. Our tagline, what it is and what it isn't. And then we'll come back and finish the rest next week. But I feel like I need this, and I need to figure out how to incorporate the omegas in there, our superfood in there, and so that when we're talking to people, they're going to know, by gosh, what Juice Plus is and what it isn't. And next week we'll talk about what makes it unique and kind of finish out the few more talking points. So, all right, you guys, yes, Susan.
Okay, I know a lot of people that I talk to are on Balance of Nature, and I had not heard what you said. I always know Balance of Nature has not actually done the research on their capsules. What they do is they just say, well, broccoli is good for you. But what did you mean when you said their particles are too big for your body to absorb?
I will put that video in there by John Blair. It's fabulous. And
Yeah,
he just said they actually did the research on Balance of Nature. It has zero impact on your body because we juice our product, then we dry it, then we encapsulate it. They go from the product straight to, they grind it up and put it in. That juicing unleashes it, almost like it pre-digests it for us. So our bodies can easily, that's why Juice Plus is so good for people who are really sick. Their body doesn't have to work hard trying to digest it. It literally is already broken down for them, and their body's able to immediately absorb it. And you can't absorb Balance of Nature. The particles are too big.
Would you put that in Vox?
Yes, it is really, if you deal with a lot of people on Balance of Nature, it is a fabulous. It's long, but it's really, really good. So I'll put that also. We'll put it all on the post pertaining to today's call. So,
Right.
All right, guys, thank you
Great
for
call.
being on the call, and be on the lookout for, I'm going to get that done today, posting all this stuff, but make a plan, because we're going to ask you about how well you executed your plan come next Monday.
And Jeff even added that Juice Plus costs less than Balance of Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Why? Question is,
would
why
say
would you buy it?
there's no downside to Juice Plus.
No.
Well,
All
Juice
right,
Plus
guys.
Juice Plus costs less, and Balance of Nature, you need to take more.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can find it again, but I saw something about one time about their research studies. It was done in Russia on lab rats, and they just got one. So
Wow.
I don't know how that applies to us.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a very great illustration.
Yeah.
Or picture.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see everybody later.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Elaine, before you get off, I wanted to show